Hi, everybody. I just want to say a few things. Can you hear me? If you needed any reminder, today is a startling example of how broken Harrisburg is. This is really ridiculous. Senators Corman and Scarnati, Leader Reed, Speaker Turzai, they have just basically said today, we've just wasted 3 months. I have been here every day but one day since I was inaugurated in January. I have not taken any time off. We have wasted 3 months. They made it beyond clear through their inaction that they take the interests of special interests above the interests of school children and schools and Pennsylvania's future. That is absolutely unacceptable to me. What Senator Corman said in his press conference, as I understand it a few minutes ago, is just completely a misrepresentation of what happened today. Never in my life, and I've been in negotiations throughout my adult life, I have never been in negotiations like this. Today, I put on the table historic reforms on pensions and liquor. Pensions and liquor, two things that they say are very important to them. On pensions, I put into place a plan that had a 401k component. I put into place a plan, or on the table, a plan that would save over $20 billion. I did that. I also put on the table a plan that would send to a private manager the liquor stores, wholesale and retail. I put that on the table today. And what did I get in return? Nothing. I got nothing on severance tax, nothing. I got nothing on education, nothing. I got nothing on property tax relief, and I got nothing on how we're going to actually balance this budget. We're going to continue to have the credit downgrades we've had because we're not doing anything else differently than we've done. It's a status quo. It's what we've been doing over the past. Again, it's redux. I'm not going to stand for it. I don't think the people of Pennsylvania should stand for it. This is beyond pathetic, and I think we need to change. We need to move forward. Let me turn this over to Senator Jay Costa, who's going to give his own. He was at the meeting this morning, too.
Well, thank you very much, Governor. Thank you all for being here today. And let me first start out by saying that I want to applaud the Governor for having the courage to put on the table what he's deemed, and we agree, are historic reforms in two of the major areas where our colleagues in the Republican Party want us to address before we get to a budget solution. That is pensions and wine and spirit modernization or privatization. With respect to the pension, let me be clear. These proposals that the Governor's put on the table are things that are very difficult for our members to be able to sit there and say, we want to do this. But we recognize that we're at a point in time where it's imperative that we sit down and have serious and honest negotiations about what needs to be done. We recognize that we have folks in education, human services community, and other throughout this Commonwealth that need to get a budget solution, get something done with regard to our budget. The fact of the matter is these proposals have been on the table. They intend to run a stopgap budget that only funds things at 1/3 of what they did in 1192. But at the end of the day, we have proposals on the table that are significant. When you talk about the pension piece, clearly in Senate Bill 1, there are at least 3 items in the pension bill that are similar to what the Governor or what the Republicans put on the table with respect to Senate Bill 1. They're there. This anti-spiking, the shared risk, and also the option 4, revenue neutrality. When you look to the DC component, the defined contribution component, it's there. It's there for the members, new employees that opted into that particular program. That's what's on the table. These are things that are difficult for Democrats to get their arms around. Same thing with respect to the wine and spirit privatization conversation that we're taking place. But we recognize, and our caucus recognized, and I know our colleagues in the House Democratic Caucus recognize, we have a greater obligation. We have an obligation to the people of Pennsylvania to get a budget done and get it done as soon as possible and not play games with stopgap budgets. We know we have to make investments in education and restore the dollars that have been cut, that have resulted in dramatic reductions in performance in our Commonwealth, and making certain that we educate our kids, and not just basic and K-12, but also early learning and also higher education in our community colleges. We have to make those investments because it's been disinvested for the past 4 years. We suffered the consequences. With respect to our human service agencies, quite frankly, I'm amazed at the hypocrisy the Republican colleagues who today are going to say they're going to stand up and protect human service programs and social service agencies, when for the past 4 years they've done nothing but cut those programs, and then no regard and no respect for those services that are provided to our seniors across this Commonwealth, for our most needy folks who need those services. No regard for them for the past 4 years, but today they want to stand up and protect them. That's hypocrisy, in my view. We want to make historic investments along those lines because they need to be done. We need to restore those levels of funding that we can provide those services. Job creation programs along those lines. We've been promoting a number of these issues. And the Governor's put on the table a couple of other things. He's looking for a Marcellus Shale extraction tax. And their response to that has been zero. Zero. No money from Marcellus at all. To me, that's wrong. The people of Pennsylvania elected this gentleman to be governor because they wanted him to make investments in education, and they wanted him to look to this Marcellus community to be part of the solution. Part of the solution. They've rejected that. They're standing with the special interests at the expense of our kids and at the expense of our seniors. That's got to change. That's why Senate Democrats stand strongly and squarely with Governor Wolf to be able to move forward and do what needs to be done along those lines. So I'd be happy to answer questions with you as well, Governor. So.
Questions?
Yeah, Charlie.
Well, first of all, in the proposal you put on the table today, did you ask for an income tax increase as well?
What I put on the table today was pensions and liquor. I asked them to come back to me as to how we're going to pay for the things I want in education, how we're going to put the Pennsylvania's financial house in order. This is the most cynical response I have yet to see in politics. I've been in politics for 9 months, not quite 9 months. This is ridiculous. This is what the people of Pennsylvania hate about Pennsylvania politics, and we need to change it. Senator?
Well, I think at the end of the day, Charlie, we have to recognize that we have revenue issues that we have to deal with. And we've looked to a reasonable solution with the Marcellus community. They've rejected that. They don't think we should look to that special interest group that for the past 4 years have been given a free pass with respect to making investments in Pennsylvania. But certainly we have a budget crisis that we need to look forward to as we move forward into next year. And we have to have serious conversations about how we close those gaps, the structural deficit. Whether or not there's a revenue stream will be accompanied with that, we need to have that to move forward.
The pension plan, how did that differ from the pension proposal you offered them prior to their counteroffer?
It's a big difference. My plan is about 80%, I think, of what they had in Senate Bill 1. This plan, unlike my March 3rd plan, has a 401k provision in it. This plan, unlike my proposal in March of this year, has a stacked hybrid. This plan is very, very different from anything I would have, and as the senator said, this is not something that Democrats would do normally. We did it because we want to make it, we understand we have divided government. And in good faith, we said, let's put on the table real pension reform. Let's put on the table real changes in the liquor system. Let's do those things. But then in return, let's get what Pennsylvania needs: investment in education, a real balanced budget, not smoke and mirrors, but a real balanced budget. Let's get a severance tax. Let's get actually property tax relief. Let's get those things. And that was the idea. We did something here. We proposed something here that Democrats would never in the past have proposed, and we expect something in return.
And with respect to, again, to the resources, let's be clear. All 4 caucuses in the administration agreed that we have a structural deficit this year and one next year of a minimum of $2.3 billion. So to suggest that we don't need to have a conversation about revenues in this is putting your head in the sand and trying to govern in the manner in which we've governed the last 4 years, where we piece together different parts of different budgets and things of that nature. And it leads Pennsylvania down a spiraling path where we don't make the investments in education. We lose jobs, we drop in job growth, and all those type of things that we've seen for the last 4 years. This governor wants to change that. We want to stand with him to be able to do that.
Governor,
Go ahead.
Governor, what exactly did you offer in terms of liquor reforms?
I offered a contract that could be for any period from 10 to 25 years. That would have protections for workers, protection for consumers, would have protection for the citizens of Pennsylvania, so we're not just giving this away to some crony of somebody, but that we're actually getting something in return, and that we're actually going to get service, like, say, wine in the supermarket, wine and beer in the supermarket.
do today's developments at all change your position on the stopgap legislation?
I'm against the stopgap. I mean, they're poking me in the eye again. That's exactly what this is about. They want to see, I guess, how far they can push me. They can't. Pennsylvanians deserve better than this. This is the first time I've run for public office, and I did it because I think my state can be better than it is. We're not going to get any better if we keep doing this Mickey Mouse stuff that these folks want to keep pushing to us. We've got to make politics better. I need the help of the people of Pennsylvania. I need them to understand what I'm fighting against here. Let me see if anybody else. Yes.
Can you help us understand why you're against the stopgap budget? I mean, clearly from listening to you here, you are very far apart with the Republicans on the budget. I mean, it sounds like weeks, maybe months. So why not put something in place? What is the problem with putting something temporary in place?
The problem with the stopgap is this. While I sympathize with the human service agencies at the county level, and the nonprofits. I sympathize with it. You know, I'm not taking I'm taking my salary, I'm giving 100% of my salary to the United Way. I care about nonprofits. I care about human service agencies. What they're doing is a very cynical, hypocritical attempt to make people believe that they're actually trying to make human service agencies' lives easier. They're not. We are the ones, in my budget, I'm proposing, and we Democrats have proposed for years, to actually provide long-term and adequate and fair funding for human service agencies and for education. This stopgap is not that. This stopgap is a poke in the eye, and I'm treating it as such, and I'm going to veto it. Senator? Okay, anything else? Charlie?
I just have a kind of a similar question, though. I mean, if we, I believe I hear you say that you laid this comprehensive package on the table today, right? Mm-hmm. So, doesn't it follow that they may need some time to consider it? And if they consider it, doesn't it follow that you would still need a couple of weeks to negotiate the fine points? And so,
absolutely.
Doesn't the stopgap get you the breathing time to do that?
A stopgap that actually was in line with what we need is a budget. We actually need to have the pension and the liquor and all the things combined into one package, and it's called a budget. We should have had it on June 30th. We didn't, and they've wasted the last 3 months trying to get to this place. A stopgap at this point, I mean, that's hypocrisy. They're the ones responsible for us not having a budget on time. They're the ones responsible for us not having a budget that actually works and addresses the real issues affecting Pennsylvania. And so a stopgap that doesn't address those issues, that's phony. And I'm not going to sign that.
To give you some breathing space.
It's not. But it's not. It's not. If it were that, that would be maybe something. It's not that. This is a phony, hypocritical, cynical attempt to manipulate the process.
Framework of an agreement, Don T. By the time the bill gets to your desk, would you sign it then if you have a framework of a budget agreement?
Well, I don't see how we're going to get there given what I left, to Charlie's point, I left this meeting today saying, you know, here's a proposal, you ought to take some time to seriously give this consideration. And I thought that's what they were going to do. Instead, there's a press conference saying, no, he rejected the deal we put on the table 4 months ago. This is better than what they put on the table 4 weeks ago. Yes.
Governor, if this is all the Republicans' fault and this new deal is all to the credit of the Democrats, why did it take so many months after the budget deadline for the Democrats to come up with a potential compromise?
Well, I have been working to come up with compromises, and I have been compromising throughout this process. I think part of negotiations is you get to understand what the other side really wants. I understood that, and we had to work to get people on board on the Democratic side. This is not easy.
My point, what has changed about the general stance of these two parties, these two sides of negotiations since February?
I've been making progress, I thought, getting our side to come around to some very difficult positions on liquor and pensions. That's what's changed. That took time.
Time for one more.
Yes.
Governor, what exactly was their response today in the meeting to this? Did they say no and that was it? Or did they say they would consider what you...
They said they would consider it. And I said, how long will it take? They said, a week.
Well, exactly right. And with respect
They did
to-
not say what Jake Corman said in his press conference.
And that part of the conversation was only a small piece, by the way. But the point, to Charlie's point, you know, I asked for a delay of at least 1 week with respect to the stopgap, to allow them the opportunity to examine the proposal the governor's put on the table, and if that represents a framework that we can construct a budget from, then we would then sit down and agree to do a stopgap budget at that point in time. They rejected that. So when we talked about trying to do the stopgap today, we wanted to wait a week to allow them to review that, make a determination, see if that's a framework that we can put a budget around, and they said no to that. And they ran out and they said they cannot delay the stopgap. We think that's wrong. We put out our arm to try to do something along those lines, and they rejected it.
Okay, that's it. Thank you very much. We deserve better than this as Pennsylvanians. Thank you.